Welcome to IB Times TV. It's June 3rd, Friday. I'm Tim Kelly. For many in the United States where Dr. Kevorkian lived and practiced his brand of medicine, his passing this week is an uncomfortable reminder of an uncomfortable issue: death and suicide. Dr. Kevorkian was a radical thinker whose views on death and suicide in a society steeped in Judeo-Christian law and morality earned him the name Dr. Death. In all, Dr. Kevorkian admits to assisting 130 people in ending their lives, yet he spent time in prison for only one case of assisted suicide. His adult life was said to be spent mostly in the solitude of his own company and on the study and research of death and dying. Yet outside the U.S., in some Western European countries, assisted suicide, while controversial, is generally accepted and legal. This has given rise to a phenomenon known as suicide tourism. Switzerland is one such place that assisted suicide is legal and where an increasing number of the terminally ill go to end their lives. I'm joined by my colleague, Christelle Kumwe, who has done a little research. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, Christelle, we're very fascinated with death and dying here, and I think Dr. Kevorkian was kind of the epitome of that, or the dark face of death and suicide here in the U.S., but that's not the case elsewhere. What have you learned about recent developments in places like Switzerland?
Well, in Switzerland, they have suicide assistance has been legal since 1941, so it's part of their culture, basically. And recently, on May 15th, they actually had a vote to ban assisted suicide, and 85% of the population rejected it. So for them, it's kind of an act, a humanitarian act to help these people in need.
So a different viewpoint on suicide. You said 85% of those who voted?
Yes, those who voted
rejected
the ban on to stop assisted suicide in Switzerland. So
it's overwhelming. They have a majority of the voters. And was this divided along party lines, or both conservative and liberal? Was there one side that went one way or the other? Or?
Well, to my understanding, it's a consensus of the country. For them, it's a humanitarian act that they don't see why people who are suffering from illnesses should not be able to make their own decisions. So a lot of the people come from Germany and France, and yeah, they do come in the country to.
They come from Germany and France as quote suicide tourists.
Yes, as suicide tourists, because in Germany and France, especially in France, it's absolutely illegal to assist or even to commit suicide. Right. So in Switzerland, you can just go in as a visitor. You don't need any specific to be a citizen. You can just come in, fill out your paperwork. There's a company called Dignitas, who are the main group in Switzerland who perform these assisted suicides. So you go in there, and you fill out the paperwork and everything. And
now, does a doctor conduct this, or do you need any kind of credentials to do this? Who actually does the physical act of assisting people? Is it somebody like a Dr. Kevorkian, who is a medical doctor or trained in medical in the medical field? Well,
to my understanding, in the Switzerland Criminal Code, it says it must be performed by a non-physician that doesn't benefit in the death of the patient's death.
You mean benefit financially?
Yeah, financially.
So in terms of the sheer number of people who travel as we call it, tourists, suicide tourists. I know it's a name that's been given to it. I don't want to minimize it or make light of it, but that's the name that has been given to it. How many people each year are actually going and doing this in Switzerland?
Reportedly, about 200 people commit assisted suicides in Zurich every year, and that's including the foreigners.
Okay, so 200 per year?
In Zurich, yes.
And predominantly from?
From Germany, yes.
From
predominantly
Germany.
From Germany.
Okay, and is that a growing number? Are there any available statistics at this point on where that has gone?
At this point, there are no available statistics that I know of, but the two main countries I can tell you for sure are France and Germany. that are the main foreigners that do come into Switzerland
Okay.
for the assisted suicides.
Well, I appreciate you joining us and giving us a little bit more insight on how this is shaping up around the world. We certainly have our own views here in the U.S., and they're quite different, apparently, than elsewhere. Christelle, thank you very much for joining us. I'm Tim Kelly, IB Times TV.